Hey guys, how's it going? This here's Tracilyn. I'm also known as VCat, and I am here in Lebanon, Pennsylvania. The sun is out today. See that? Yes, the sun is out. I'm gonna try to work on my voice a little bit. I told you before that I was transgendered. You may be trying to figure this out. I've been doing nothing but talking since I entered Pennsylvania. I do a lot of talking to myself. It's a relief to have the camera available in my hand so that I can share my life with you. Instead of talking to myself now when people walk by and say, "Who are you talking to?" I can say, "I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you." And the funny thing is, when I watch this video and I say that, "I'm talking to you," I'm gonna see that I'm talking to myself, because I've been spending a lot of time, actually I should say sharing a lot of time with myself, listening to myself, speak to myself. Isn't that amazing? Do that one time. Do that. Do that, or do crazy things to your head. Pick up a camera, hold a conversation with yourself one way, and then watch. Watch yourself. Play it back and watch yourself. You're talking to yourself. Isn't that amazing? And you're holding a conversation with yourself. It's possible. Possible. Pretty unique, huh? I wish I didn't have to carry around this water, but obviously I don't know what happened to me since I come to Pennsylvania. I'm kind of losing my voice every day, and it's pretty raspy right now. I never did like when that happened. It's kind of embarrassing for me. I know some guys think it's cute. I don't think it's cute. Sometimes I think it's cute. I'm learning to love even my flaws. What do you think about that? So I don't care anymore, and I'm going to tell you why. I'm on very limited time. I'm rushing through sharing my life story in basically the county that I was born and raised in. I lived here for practically all the way up to 2009. Very seldom did I get out of this. Most of my life was lived within a 7-mile radius. Give or take, sometimes we would leave that 7-mile radius, but even so, a lot of times I was telling you, even in the neighborhoods, we would stick around the neighborhoods that we lived in. Very seldom did we travel outside those neighborhoods. A lot of it was because our parents were on a tight budget. Okay, we had a lot of children to take care of. And we spent a lot of time outdoors, walking around, talking to each other, not just ourselves, or holding a camera up at that time, talking to our camera. So sometimes this drives people nuts as I'm walking through the alleyways and talking to myself. They wonder, what is going on? What is going on? Maybe someday they'll see this video and they'll know. Now listen, I'm gonna try to cut out a lot of the extras of things like this. It's unnecessary, isn't it? I know you're saying, Tracilyn, this isn't necessary. What does this have to do with your life? Let me just say, I wish that I had years to walk you through my life journey, because in order to do what I've always wanted to do properly, it would take me years. And it's very unfortunate for me. I am on limited time. Is that good? Limited time. Maybe you live with a poor family. Maybe your family struggles just to get food yourself. Well, let me tell you something. Most of my life, it has been that way. There were seasons of change where I didn't have to worry as much as other times. And let me tell you, those seasons there weren't any better. They were different. And I got to do the things that I used to dream of doing. And sometimes I miss that freedom that I used to have. Yes. So I don't want to ride that too much. I'm going to continue walking through the neighborhood here on Union Alley in Lebanon, Pennsylvania, right down from the road of where I was telling you at, right down here, just before that stop sign. You're going to find out that there was some amazing life-changing moments that happened right there on that city block. Right now we have a lot of people, they're watching me. They want to know, what is Tracilyn, also known as VCat High, doing with her camera, talking to herself? They are now laughing at me. They don't know what to make of it. Because like I told you before, Tracilyn does a lot of weird things in the eyes of other people. I love to entertain. I love to share my life story. I'm a songwriter. I'd rather be doing music most of the times. However, I do love to wear costumes. I love to role play. And let me tell you something. Remember I told you in house number 2, that's where my imagination ignited. It ignited. Well, let me tell you something. The alleyways where I am now, I used to use my imagination as well. I didn't get along with the guys in this neighborhood, hardly ever. I did have 2 stepbrothers. And we shared a lot of time here. And as I go through I'm going to ask you for mercy, grace, and forgiveness right up front, because I'm saying things very fast. And sometimes, like for instance, I'm going to give you an example. The very first video I have on this YouTube page, which is VCat Vblog, the YouTube page. Did you get that? VCat Vblog. Okay, so here's the thing, check this out. I'm sharing with everybody the hospital I was born in. And I just gave a very quick explanation of what I remembered back from the day I was born and the day that they wheeled me and my mother out to the car. And a lady shortly after that, she had told me that at that time in 1972, that they weren't really giving births out of that hospital. She wanted me to double check and recheck. Are you sure that you were actually born in that hospital? So what I just did is I questioned myself, because I'll tell you what, VCat is not 100% concrete on a lot of everything that she's sharing. And I'm going to be honest with you about this. Sometimes, like with movies, the years they came out, did we dance to Grease at this house? Did we dance to Grease at this house? Let me tell you something. I'm rushing. I'm on a time frame pinch. Everything's a pinch for me. So I'm going to ask you for forgiveness. I did call my mother up. I called my mother, which was a healthy thing. It was a good thing. And I said, Mom, I remember all of our conversations that we used to have. And I said, do you remember where I was born, where you gave birth to me at? And she told me immediately. She told me immediately, which was the hospital that I was standing in front of, sharing that story. And I shared with her what I shared with you, because she doesn't have access to the internet at the present moment in her life. And she got really happy. She said, yes, I remember. We used to talk about our lives over and over and over again. That's why a lot of this stuff sticks in my mind. See, a lot of people would find it hard to believe. How do you remember it was that hospital? How do you remember what happened at that hospital? Everything was blurry, you know? You were just born. How could you remember back that far? How could you remember the lights on the radio and the Eagles playing? You know? And I'll tell you how and why. Is because throughout the years of our lives, remember I told you my mom loved to drink, she was a celebrator of life. Well, let me tell you something, we spent many years, every year of our life, every day, many days and hours of our life at our kitchen table usually. Usually she loved to drink in the kitchen. We would hang out in the kitchen at the table, sometimes in the living room, on the front porch, back porch, revisiting our lives through stories that she shared with me. Because she loved to share memories. And us children love to hear about our lives. What did we do when we were little? What did we do when I was just a toddler? What kind of toys did we have? Do you have any pictures? And my mother, like most mothers out there, you may be a mother, or maybe you know because your mother does this to you. She took a lot of pictures of us, and therefore those images were constantly being shown to me. Constantly, here's a little toy mower that you used to have. Here's a little toy truck that you used to have, that Hess truck, the Dukes of Hazzard Matchbox. Remember, we got that out in Jonestown. And it was like she was trying to reprogram my memory to remember always where I came from and the things that brought me joy and how the hard times brought us through to a deeper love within our family. So understand, if you have any questions right now, please feel free to share them down below. Okay, down below this video on YouTube, VCat Vblog. And know this, there is no right or wrong question. Any question that you have, or even if you feel like insulting me and saying, I'm finding everything that you're saying to me right now, Tracilyn, far-fetched. That's okay. That's okay. I'm going to give you permission to think that the things I'm talking about and sharing with you are far-fetched. But know this, most of the things that I'm sharing with you, most, not all, I have witnesses to testify, even in spiritual events that I'm going to share with you. And if you find anything right now too far-fetched, when I start sharing the ghost stories that I have, if you want to call them ghosts, or the spiritual journeys of different occurrences of things that happened to me, you're going to really find them far-fetched. You're going to think that it was a script made up and I'm just pretending. Is she still pretending? I'm not pretending. I'm sharing with you the truth as I perceive it. Let me just say that I'm under a little bit of stress. I'm going to be honest with you, a little bit of stress, because I need to do this as fast as possible, okay? That's why I'm jumping around. And instead of just having a catch-up series, what I'm going to do is I'm gonna have a Super Bowl series as well, mixed in with it. And what that's going to do is, as I'm uploading these videos and I'm trying to edit out some of the things that I no longer really want in there, if I accidentally said a name or something like that, that's the only thing I'm editing out. So I don't want to use anybody's name. So here's the thing. What I'm doing is, as I'm watching them, other things are starting to come to my mind. I'm starting to remember other things, and I'm like, I ought to share that with them. Some people out there might like that. They might be able to relate to me a little bit better if I share with them. For instance, I'm just going to give one. Not right now. I'm not going to tell you exactly where it was. I'm going to talk about my Super Bowl bouncing idea. I'm going to talk about these things a little bit later. I want to stay focused on where we are in Union Alley. But right now, I'm just going to tell you, I used to have an R2-D2 remote control. I got that on Lafayette Street. Okay? That's house number 3. It was a little remote control R2-D2, and that's when Star Wars was big. But am I sure? Am I sure? Check back on the dates. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. Okay, I don't have time to reinvestigate and find out for sure. Could you do that for me? By leaving a comment down below. Google it, use Yahoo or whatever it is, AOL. What are you using right now anyway? I don't know. I use Google all the time, faithfully. And you'll begin to understand, just like those images that my mom would always show me, I don't like to have other images constantly bombarding my brain when I'm searching the internet or when I'm walking around town or if I'm around other people. You'll find out I also do not watch too many television shows anymore. I stopped. I don't listen to commercial music that much anymore either. I'm not telling you not to. I'm not telling you not to, okay? Okay? You listen to whatever you want to do. You watch whatever you want to watch. You can turn me off. You can turn me off if you'd like to. Or you can continue to listen to me while you're playing video games, washing your car. I don't know how old you are. You may still be crawling in diapers, and you may be drooling all over the monitor right now because VCAT's on, VCAT's on. And I'll tell you what, for all my diaper fans, whether at any age, I wish I had my diapers on right now and I could really do a video for you that you would always remember. But look back on my other YouTube page for things like that. Type in my name, VCAT with a K, V-K-A-T. You can type that in anywhere on Google, or you can type it in on YouTube. And let me tell you something, you're gonna be surprised what you find with me. I love to wear schoolgirl costumes. I love to wear all kinds of costumes, especially a cat costume. And I also love to wear diapers. And I love to be spanked to this day, but it's spanked in love, okay? Spanked in love to help discipline me to go in the direction in life that I wanna go. Not to keep me back, not to hold me back. I don't want to be abused. I don't want to be abused. Maybe someday we can meet and you can spank me. Or maybe I'll spank you. You never know. Okay, so here we go. I spent a lot of time in this neighborhood. At this house on Union Alley. And I would like to stand in front of the house, but what I'm starting to realize as I'm doing videos, it makes people a little nervous. So it's better to keep the camera rolling. It's easier for me to reflect back and feel the energy of the home, okay? You might not understand what I mean by that. You may understand it, I don't know. But while I'm there with all my 5 senses, do we have 5 senses or do we have 6 or 7? I don't remember. With all of our senses, all our being, I can feel the energy, and it's like I can close my eyes a little bit and reflect back and remember. But sometimes that makes people very nervous that live there now. And I don't want to offend anybody. I don't want to hurt anybody. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk around the same alleyway, the alleyways in Lebanon, just behind Union Alley, of where I used to roam these alleys. Now let me tell you something. This was in the 80s, okay? I'm not sure exactly when because I'm going to start losing track of time as I'm hurrying up to rush through this with you. Not to rush it for you, but just because I really got a lot to say and a lot to share in a very short time for now. Maybe someday, you never know, I'll have the opportunity to go back through it a little slower, and then show you in more detail of the things that I've learned, relearned, and the things that help to benefit me the most in life by reevaluating my history. Will you walk and journey with me through my history? 40 years old. It's a long journey. It was a long journey for me. It's going to go a lot quicker though. This, I assure you, won't take 40 years. It won't take 40. If I broke it down into absolute detail, it could take a century. It could take eternity for me to explain to you all that I learned in those 40 years. But I ain't going to do that to you. It'd be too torturous, wouldn't it? Would that be torturous, or would you be interested? Let me know. Leave a comment. Share something about your life with me. Were you ever back here in Union Alley? Were you ever roaming the streets here in Lebanon? Good Samaritan Hospital's right over here. That's part of their parking lot. Did you ever hang out down here? You have any friends in this area? If you notice as I'm walking through, there's a couple cars that pass by. But you won't see too many people out here walking the streets. It was the same back in that day. I'm sure a lot of times people are busy working right now. The people are in school as well. There's probably a lot of people who are indoors on a computer watching my show right now. The VCAT show, the VCAT blog, the VCAT V-blog. Yes. So it's going to be a little bit challenging for me where we are now to reflect back on that house. But can I just get started with that right away and do my very best to stick to only the basics, the critical, the crucial moments that totally changed my life. There was a few things that happened here, not like the other places, but similar. These were all crucial, life-changing experiences that I went through that changed my whole perspective on life, and it gave me reason to struggle. It gave me more challenges for different reasons. Okay, so check this out. I told you Lafayette is where my mom finally made up her mind. She met somebody else. In a very brief time, we were now separated from the man we all elected like a president of a country. We elected him to be our stepdad. That was hard. Have you ever lost another parent? Not to mention, in that situation there was, I lost my dad during the week. Okay, he was working anyway. He drove truck during the week anyway, so it really wasn't that much different, but our parents were no longer living together. I did get to see him a little bit here and there on the weekends, and you'll find out that it got less and less as I got older. He had other families, and I don't want to get too much involved in talking about his life, but to give you a little insight, it got little less and less. But right now, my mom is with a boyfriend that we elected, and we were hoping that they would stay together forever. And things didn't work out. That's all. Okay? Now, because of the reasoning as to why he never married our mother, how do you think that made me feel? And I'm going to tell you what it was. Is his parents put pressure on him, especially. I'm sure his friends and stuff. Why would you want to marry a lady who already has a family, an already made family? I think that's the way it was worded. What do you think about that? Well, let me tell you something. It kind of hurt. I kind of took that personally, even though I didn't want to. I have forgiveness, though. I'm grateful for who I am now. And I'm realizing that everything is for a season in life. Everything is for a season. Even me walking around these streets right now is just for temporary season. I'm revisiting an old season of my life with you. So now we're losing our mom's boyfriend, who is kind of like a dad to us. I used to run my matchboxes up and down his chest to help him go to sleep. And, you know, that was my first realization that I liked guys with hairy chests. I had an attraction to him like I did my uncle, but I also knew the position. I knew who he was. He was my mom's boyfriend. But I was very attracted to that. I like guys with hair on their chest because of my mom's boyfriend. Okay, but let's get past that. My mom gets married to this guy. He's short. He's a short guy. He might have been only 2.5 foot. What do you think? I'm just kidding. He wasn't 2.5 foot. He may have been. Maybe when I have my heels on, 6-inch heels, that makes me almost 7 foot myself. Yeah, 6'8" actually. But he was short, and probably just under 5 or right around 5. And my mom was approximately between 5'3" and 5'8", but don't mark my words on this. I don't know. I'm just trying to give you an example of how tall she was and how short he was. So that was different for us to have a short stepdad in our life. We really loved him a lot, instantly. It was a total different personality than what we were used to. He was very cool and very hip with what was going on in that day and age. I think I remember saying in another video, but I'm not sure. I'm going to say it now. He used to wear a bandana over his head, like Willie Nelson used to. I'm not sure who else used to do that. I used to wear a bandana on my leg, like Chachi from Happy Days. You'll find out that Happy Days played a crucial part in my life because I love the Fonz. I think most girls during that generation anyway, during that time, used to love the Fonz. Oh, he was a cool guy, right? The motorcycle. And nobody bulldogged him around, did they? Things happened when he snapped his fingers. So I was always drawn to men that can make things happen with very little energy being applied to that. We got music going on here. It could mess me up a little bit. Let's make a turn. So with that being said, we're making a turn here. I'm not sure of the name of the alleyway. Let's check it out. Hello, how are you? Good. What's the name of this alleyway, do you know?
I'm actually not sure.
You're not? Okay.
No,
it's nice to meet you.
You too.
We're gonna find out. There's a street sign up here, so I'll be able to tell you. Here, let's make sure that this is back. There we go. I want to keep talking. It's a little bit harder for me when I'm not actually at the house to explain. So we're gonna walk up and down Union Alley a little bit. I want to get more serious about the things and the occurrences that happen in this house that were life-changing to me, or so I believe they are. Do you believe they are? They were. Everything's life-changing. A smile can be life-changing. Your eyes. Did you ever give anybody the eye? Okay, so check this out. I'm a little tired, a little worn out. I gotta keep things moving along. You can always fast forward if there's things that you don't appreciate me talking about. You can always fast forward if you're finding it boring. Or you can just go to another video or another YouTube page. Just kidding, don't go anywhere, don't go. I'm just kidding, I'm sorry. Just joking, you can tell me. Tell me what else, tell me what you would like to see or what you'd like to hear. Do you have any questions? Tracilyn, during this time of age, how old were you approximately, you might be wondering? I'm gonna say that I'm not 100% sure. I'm not 100% sure, but I think I was either in 3rd grade, but I definitely know I spent my 4th grade year here, okay? I had a teacher that I will never forget in that classroom. Her name was Mrs. Simmons. I don't know if it was Mrs. or Miss Simmons, but everybody loved her. And here's the thing, here's a subject that I'm going to talk about that I hope I can just keep it simple. And I don't mean that in a negative way, I mean that in a good way. Can we just leave things as simple as black and white and Spanish? Can we do that? Please? Please, because it's going to be a lot easier for me instead of trying to get all technical and do research and find out how people like to be called or, you know, what have you, if you have darker skin. Can I just be simple and just say black skin, white skin? Can I do that without hurting your feelings? I hope so. I really hope so. Because I'm going to do it. And I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings or offend them. Because everything is in respect, okay? Understand, I do not discriminate against anybody for any reason. I am German. You want to make fun of a German? Make fun of me. That's one person that isn't going to get upset at you. I'm Pennsylvania Dutch, too. I was born and raised in Pennsylvania. That's where we are. This is the first time in my whole life that any of the family was interracial. I don't know this gentleman's story exactly. From what I remember, he had dated or married, I don't know the details, a black lady, a lady of color. For whatever reason, they are separated. He has 2 children. I don't want to get into his whole life story, but one is black and one has medium-toned skin. So I don't know if he had a different parent or not. He kind of looked like he may have been Spanish. He was a little bit lighter toned for some reason. I know he had struggles with that at the time. I don't want to talk about anybody else, but I think from what I recall, he kind of felt like a little bit different too. One of them did, or maybe both of them did, because the one brother is dark skinned. If he's black, if you may let me say that, please. And he was like a mid-tone between me and his brother. Okay? So I think there was different things going on there that kind of made them, we kind of connected because of this, because we all felt a little bit different than the norm, if you will, of what we were born and raised around. Now remember, I told you I was country girl, all white school, I come to town, now we have neighborhoods, they're trying to scare me about going into a black neighborhood, okay? Can I just be real and be honest and just straight without you feeling that I'm disrespecting anybody? I hope so, because I don't want to keep apologizing for the way I'm speaking, but I want to make it very clear, okay? This was nobody of German descent, this was nobody of Japanese, you know, Asian, it was nothing like that. This was black and white situation. So the first family that I had the opportunity and privilege, the honor of being a part of, that was interracial. So with that being said, I now have 2 brothers. This is great because from what I remember, they were younger than me. Okay, so I have 2 younger brothers. Remember, I was always the youngest. Now here's a whole life change. Okay, so it was amazing to have these two guys in my life. We shared a lot of time together. We walked around these alleyways. We were a pack now. And usually because I was older, but we did everything mutual together. But it was the first time I kind of felt like a leader in anything in my life. Okay? So we got into a lot of fights, but we also got along very tight, especially when we were out on the streets. We stuck together as a team. And nobody messed with me without messing with them and vice versa. And let me tell you something, nobody messed with us with our stepdad, because if it's one thing that our stepdad did, my stepdad, it was their real dad. The one thing that he did is he looked out over his family. Nobody touched them. Nobody messed with them. Nobody messed with them. And if they did, we'd go back and tell him. And let's just say that whoever messed with us at that point would not mess with us after that point. And I'm gonna leave it that simple, okay? No violence, nothing like that, okay? But here's the thing, so he has a bandana around his head. I'm thinking that's really cool. He has some friends, because he was a truck driver. They worked for a moving company. So he was gone sometimes, but he was at home off and on throughout the week and on the weekends. And he had some cool friends that would come here and hang out. They also, especially the one, he wore a bandana, and I was very attracted to him. Very attracted to him. I don't know why. It was his personality, his energy. He really made the children laugh when he would come over. So I'm gonna keep on walking here so nobody gets nervous. As I'm reflecting back, can I just get right down to it? As we're walking by this first time, this is the house where I was telling you that my mother, I found her on the bathroom floor, sitting down against the wall, actually facing the way I'm facing now, but over here in the bathroom, which I'm going to show you the window, with her eyes kind of rolled up behind her head, and she had burn marks on her neck. Did you ever see something like that? From her curling iron. And I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you what happened right now. My stepdad was very abusive towards her. He was a heroin addict, and he smoked, he drank, and let me tell you something. He could be so sweet, so protective of his children, but let me tell you, there was many nights that I stayed in this house. And my room was on the 2nd floor, okay, with 3 of my brothers. My brother from my other family, but now from my new family, my 2 younger brothers. We all shared our bedroom, and then my 2 sisters had a bedroom out front. But in the attic, my mother lived and slept with her husband, who was my stepdad. And let me tell you something, there were many nights that I heard him beating her. And I can't put into words because I've never heard it before that time. I never heard such violence, things being thrown around. I didn't know if it was my mother or if it was a stereo system sometimes, if it was the entire bed. I didn't know what was going on up there, but I knew that my mom was in danger, and I didn't know what to do. What do you do? I didn't know what to do. Do you call the cops? I don't know if that even registered my mind. I don't even know if that registered my mind, but there were many nights. Now look over here. I'm not going to hold it here too long. But you see this over here? Hold on. Okay. This end window. This end window right over here. There we go. Up, over. There it is. That's the window. That's the bathroom. Where that air conditioner is. That used to be a living room. Of course, this here is our screen door. Okay, right over there. And upstairs, which you see as I walk around, I'm gonna just hold this image in your head. I'm gonna walk around here so people don't get too upset with me being out front. I am on public property, by the way, which is the alleyway. And I don't want to upset anybody. I want to try to keep things moving. Here we go. So here's the side of the house. Try to get this in your mind. Okay. Up there. And I might come back here again. You see this up here, way up there? I can't do this too good yet. I gotta learn how to do that. That's the attic window. That's to my mother's bedroom. It used to be. Let me take these off for a little bit so you can see my face. So my mom used to spend a lot of time up in that attic. Okay? Getting beat by my stepdad. What do you think about that? What are your feelings on that? Now at this time, approximately, let's do reverse. Remember, I do reverse math from 12th. I would have been 18. This has to be around 4th grade, 3rd grade. So I had to be what? Probably around 9, right? We might have moved here. We might have. I have to do some research, figure things out. I don't have that much time. It was either 8 or 9 when we moved in here, approximately. Okay? Definitely by the age of 10, we're living here. And my mom is getting beat. She's getting beat pretty good up in that attic on a pretty regular basis. I'm not sure how many years we lived here. All right, remember I told you, I remember back in my childhood years because we spent a lot of years talking about those years, me and my mother. But as far as this, obviously, just because of what I told you, we didn't spend too many years or times at the table talking about what happened. It was kind of silent. Remember I talked to you about silent judgment? Well, let me tell you something. When tragedies like that happen a lot of times, just like I was telling you, when I don't remember what happened in house number 2 to me. We got music going on. I'm gonna go this way. I'm sorry, I get distracted easily. That's why I like to go to quiet places to do my art. But here's the thing, check this out. So just like back at the house, that I don't know what happened. My imagination ignited. I didn't talk about it to anybody. Maybe nowadays you talk about things, and in a way, I gotta say, I hope you do. We do, because it's very healing, very healing. But just much like my imagination igniting, we did not talk about this. We did not talk about this too much because it made my mom feel awful, and it made us feel awful because nobody knew what to do during that time. Nobody knew what to do during those times. Okay, because we needed him in our life, but we didn't need him. Let me just say we didn't need him, but we were under the impression, under the illusion that we needed him. Okay, and I don't know fully why, but I do know that he was a man of authority. He was strung out on drugs, mainly heroin, alcohol, and I don't want to talk a whole lot about his life, but I'm just letting you know. So this is a guy who could be so sweet, so loving, and we loved him a lot. Don't get me wrong, you really loved him a lot, but let me tell you, this is the first place, and I have pictures, even on my YouTube videos, on my other page. My other page is a song I wrote called Mr. Right Now. You can see a picture of me sitting in here in I think it's the yellow shirt, I'm not sure. I think it's the yellow shirt in front of the piano, and I am really sad. And let me tell you something, that's why I was sad. Because my mom was getting beat all the time. And there's nothing, I didn't know what to do. What do I do? What do I do about that? I don't know. I'm not here to try to make amends out of what I should have done, could have done, would have done. And same with you. If you're going through things right now, I really don't know how to advise you, except for you gotta seek out to get help, most certainly, okay? Most certainly. Reach out to the authorities. You know, reach out to somebody you feel you can trust. How's that? Because I'm gonna share with you right now, that day when I seen my mother laying there with her eyes rolled up and burn marks on her neck, that drove me crazy. Me and my sister found her. Okay. Dad shows up in the van, and he didn't really know what to do. At this point, nobody really knew what to do. He didn't want to involve with it. He doesn't want to get involved in somebody else's issues of things that are going on. You can imagine what that was doing to me already. I'm telling my dad about what's going on with my mom. Let me just make it clear. I don't know what happened here clearly right now because it's being rushed. This is being rushed. I'd have to sit down and talk to my mom again. But at some point, my dad, my sister, and me, my dad was picking us up that weekend, and we went over to a phone booth. He called the cops, okay? I'm almost 100% sure, but I'm not 100% sure. I do know that my grandfather showed up, who was my mom's dad. They kind of knew what was going on. Nobody really knew what to do. It was one of those situations where we were under the illusion that we needed him, but yet at the same token, we didn't need him. Nothing like that. So he beat up my mom pretty bad to the point that she almost died. At some point, my dad shows up. It's not clear to me at this time as to whether or not we made a phone call from the house, but I do know that me and my sister were crying. We didn't know what to do for my mom. We had no idea what to do for my mom. I don't remember where everybody else was. I do know that at some point we went over to when we were going over to my dad's house, that we stopped at the phone booth. We made a phone call. He made a phone call. Was it to my grandpa? Was it to the police? I really don't know. I don't remember to this day. I do not remember to this day. But I do remember that my grandpa showed up, and I know he was really worked up because it was bad. Can I just tell you, it was bad. It made me feel really awful too. I love my mom. My mom still is, but she was so beautiful. I admired her beauty for so long. So to see her laying there, their eyes rolled up in her head, okay? Their eyes rolled up in her head and burn marks on her neck. Till this day, that still sticks in my head. I don't really remember too much after that because, much like going in and igniting my imagination, is it okay if I tilt this a little bit, a little different angle? Much like this and igniting my imagination, let me tell you something. I don't know what happened there. Do I need to know what happened? It'd be nice to know what happened. The more that I talk about it, it seems like it's starting to come clearer. I don't really want to discuss it at this present moment, but it's beginning to come a little clearer the more that I talk about these things. So as well as I'm sharing this with you, it's all jumbled up. I'm human. Something sparked there, traumatized me, and it was my mom being found almost completely dead. So I thought, beat on our bathroom floor. Remember, I used to love sitting at the bathroom floor and keep my mom company. At this time, I used to go into the bathroom and sit on the commode. We called it the hopper. Can I sit on the hopper, Mom, and talk to you while you do your hair and do your makeup? Can I do that? And that's what I used to do there. So I think we were getting ready to go to my dad's anyway at that time because he used to come pick us up on the weekends. And I wanted to run up and give her a kiss, and when I found her there, it just freaked me out. Totally freaked me out. Let's walk back up this way again. So, as I was saying, we ended up making a phone call. I don't know if my dad called the cops. I don't know if my dad called my grandpa. Eventually, he was there. My brother was there. My brother, all I remember, from what I remember, is my brother and my grandpa were furious. Furious. And the cops ended up coming, and there was something about that situation which I don't really want to get into too much detail, but it was the first time that I was very disappointed in our local police force. What do you think of that? Tracilyn, also known as VCAT, was disappointed in our local police force. Guy didn't go to jail that long. From what I remember, it was a very brief time. Let's leave it at that. And he was out. And let me tell you, we had to get out of that house as soon as possible, and I don't remember the details from that. I'd have to talk to my mother. I just wanted to share that with you. The fact that I seen my mother, who I admired so greatly. Remember, I told you this is gonna buzz by quickly. For some reason, I blocked a lot of these memories out. Blocked a lot of the memories out. They were not healthy memories for me. but I know there's something to learn, or I should say they are healthy, but they weren't happy memories for me. So I didn't really want to focus on that. I wanted to focus on when life was good. To me, life wasn't good here. Life wasn't good to me at all. And you're going to find out as I begin to talk to you that not only I got bullied at the other place, but remember, I had friends. We had a tight family. The neighborhood was tight. We were tight as a family, and I had a superhero friend. A superhero friend used to come over here and try to lift up our spirits. Excuse me. But I don't remember a whole lot about it, see? I'm stumbling here because I don't really remember a whole lot about it because I didn't want to remember it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you a couple good times, okay? For starters, he had a van. He had a van, nothing like my dad had. This was an older style van. It was brown, I think, from the beginning, and it had windows in it all the way around. And I think there was a bed, but I'm not 100% sure. And then eventually, from what I remember, it was painted blue and white. I'll never forget when I first saw that. I thought, wow, that's my first paint job I ever seen on a van. Go from one color to another, that I remember anyway. So here's the thing. We used to all get inside that van and drive. I think it was to York, but it could have been somewhere else. We would drive to go see his mom. And they had a beautiful house, big yard, and we would all share a lot of quality time there. That was fun for me. But something that we did here with my stepdad is we built our first go-kart. Lafayette, there was a go-kart that was becoming very popular in our neighborhood. There was hills back off of Lafayette Street, and in these go-karts, you sat inside and they had ropes so you could steer the front tires, and your friends would get behind you and they would push you in this. There was no motor. They would push you in this, and it had big wheel tires on it, so they would let you push down really fast down the hill. And some of them, the best way to stop them was you pulled the wheel really hard and it spun around in a donut. You did donuts with these things. That was really cool. I love that. He built us our first go-kart. We got one that we brought from that neighborhood. That wasn't built for me specifically. That somebody else built. Somehow we ended up bringing that go-kart here, and he was inspired, our stepdad was inspired to build us our own go-kart. And me and my stepbrothers used to push each other around in that often. So much that right down here at this end of this alleyway, there's the main street of Route 422, which is also known as, let me make sure, Walnut Street. One day we were pushing our go-kart across there, and we were told never to cross Walnut Street with our go-kart. And somebody spotted us. I don't know if it was a cop. I don't know if it was just somebody who knew him or if it was him himself. But let me just say that it didn't go without punishment. And I remember that we had to park that go-kart in front of the house, right, covered up. And when we got in trouble, that go-kart went into the backyard, and it stayed there for quite some time. I used to look out my back window and see that go-kart, and I knew that I broke one of the house rules, was the children don't cross Main Street pushing the go-kart. If he was with, that would have been different. He did care about us, did he? Did he care about us, you think? Because he was protective over us, my mom and everybody. So that's why there's a lot of mixed feelings with that. Do you ever feel that way? Does it ever seem like sometimes people love us, but in the same token, it's hard to believe they can either be our best friend one day and the next day they're our worst enemy? I hope not. I hope you're not going through that right now. Okay? But if you are, or you have, you're not alone. Okay? This is the beginning of my severe depression. Severe depression that overpowered me for years and many years. Maybe even to this day. I still fight that, but I'm healing. I'm healing because I'm stumbling over my words, trying to get it right for you to better understand me and learn maybe something from my... We have the go-kart. I remember the situation with my mother. I remember that bandana because then I started wearing a bandana over my head. I wanted to be cool like my stepdad. I really did. So there was very positives in our relationship. He would sing with us in the van, so he was very musical as well. He loved to sing. Sometimes we relate. Remember, I told you I always relate people that I meet with things that I saw on television shows and through bands, a lot of bands. I connect with them that way in my memory. What about you? Do you do that? People in your life, do you kind of put them with different characters of people that you saw on television or somebody that you hear on the radio, one of your favorite bands? I've done that all the time. Another thing that I was introduced to, remember I told you interracial families? This is the first time I got to be friends and be a pack leader with my brother being black. My two brothers. Okay, I don't know their whole history. I don't want to get a whole lot into it, but they were both very good looking and they had wonderful personalities. I've always wondered to this day what they're up to, where they are. They still live in Lebanon. They have families, you know. And I mean, I just say that after my mother divorced with my stepdad, I often wondered about my two brothers. See, that was hard on me because despite what was going on with my mother and I wanted her to leave, I really did want her to leave him. The thing is, what about my two brothers? I didn't want to lose them too. So I lost a stepdad and my two brothers. Can you imagine how that affected me? I want my two brothers back, you know? And now all of a sudden, it's kind of like a small war, you know? Did my mom get their dad into trouble, you know? How do they feel about it? Oh, God, goodness, you could talk about this for years, about people's different perspectives on the feelings about what happened that day. I'm not here to judge anything and know that there's total forgiveness. And I still love those people. They played amazing, crucial points in my life of helping me to get through my life journey. They touched my life in many ways. Another thing that I remember is being up here at our screen door. I'm going to walk by it again. Let's look at this yellow house. I don't know if you remember Smokey and the Bandit, and I'm not sure of the year. I don't like to say movies because I don't know exactly what years they came out. But for some reason, there was either a blue Firebird or there was a blue Trans Am that looked just like Smokey and the Bandit's Trans Am. Do you remember that show, that movie? Well, that's what that reminded me of. And remember, I told you, I really liked that car a lot. I loved the movie a lot. I liked Burt Reynolds a lot. Now, that car wasn't originally blue that was sitting here. At one time, that was my second paint job. At one time, it was a different color, but I don't remember what it was, but I do remember the blue. And I thought it was absolutely beautiful. It might have been a Firebird, but it could have been a Trans Am. Either way, they both kind of looks very similar. And here's the thing. In this house, not now, but back then in the 80s, the early 80s, there was two guys that lived there. One was a little heavier set, and one was really skinny. And I'm just giving you physical appearance. Please don't be upset because I said that. Okay? One was a little bit heavier. Actually, can I be honest? He was a lot heavier. Okay? And the other one was really skinny. And these two guys went everywhere together in that Firebird or Trans Am, whatever it was. And they always were friendly, but they kind of stuck to themselves. They didn't talk to us too much. But let me tell you something right now. There would be times as they would drive down through here every day, and you would hear the sound of their car coming down through as we hear this truck. Hello? We would hear the sound of the truck, or the car, I'm sorry, that's the sound of the truck over here. We would hear the sound of the car passing through our alleyway, and of course over here at the screen door, Tracilyn would look out. Tracilyn would look out there. Look, a sticker with a fireman on there, that's still there. It's a long story. We used to put little stickers on our windows for the firemen to let them know that there were children or animals that were here. Used to do that years ago. Do you do that now? So this Firebird or this Trans Am would drive down here with two guys. That was my first, in memory, gay encounter that I was aware of. What the world calls gay. Same-sex couple. Now, of course, I don't think they were married. I don't think that was possible back then. At least not here. But they shared a lot of time together, and it was well known in this neighborhood that they were gay. Well, remember I was telling you stories about me with makeup, me wearing my sister's and my mom's clothing? Well, I wanted to get to know these guys, but I was scared. I didn't want to be made fun of by my friends or by my brothers. You know, I'm having all these different struggles, even at this time in this house. I'm having feelings about guys, and I'm feeling kind of out of place with myself, and I'm not into doing guy things. I want to do more girly things. When I met them two, I got to be honest, I wanted to sit down and talk to them. There's something inside of me that said, you know, they might be able to help me with my problem. What was my problem? My problem was I wanted to do a lot of girly things. So am I saying that gay guys do girly things? Absolutely not. But something in my heart told me that these guys could probably help me. Needless to say, I never had the opportunity to really talk to them. The longer that we lived here, which was only a brief time, I started getting closer to them. It was even scary walking by their house because everyone around me, including my brothers at that time, we kind of tease each other about it. You know, especially when the guys would come out to their car. And I'm sorry for that. I want to apologize to those two gentlemen. Okay? I would even like to get to know you right now, to be honest with you. I'd like to get to know you. So, I like to get to know everybody. So, at that time, though, we were being made fun of a lot. And let's just leave it short, cut a lot of it out, is I wanted to get to know them, but I was too scared because I was getting pressure from everyone around me to talk to them. Or to make the decision to go over and talk to them. That's pretty much all that I really remember there. You know, up in the attic, we spent a lot of time with my mom. She drank really heavy when she was here. My stepdad drank a lot. His friends drank a lot. Also, I remember getting stoned up there. Do you know what stoned is? Can I speak freely? That was back in the early 80s. And even in my youth, over in house number 2, I was already introduced to marijuana. Yes, what do you think of that? It's kind of crazy, isn't it? But I'm being very open and very honest with you about my life because I want you to see that I've pretty much been through everything, not everything, but just about everything that you can imagine. There was family abuse going on. There was drugs and alcohol, cigarettes. And you're going to find out a lot more about my life. There's sexuality questions, gender issues, if you want to call them issues, struggles. How about this? Gender struggles. Please forgive me for saying issues. It's not issues, is it? No. Struggles, challenges for myself, for my own mind. Well, me and my stepbrothers, we used to walk around this neighborhood a lot. We had a go-kart. We heard about my mother. We spent a lot of time up in that room. Yes, we did get stoned. Not all the time. But I was around a lot of cigarette smoke, so of course, even at that time, I was going up years ago in the early 80s. Children could actually buy cigarettes, so we were buying cigarettes and smoking the cigarettes in this alley, in the alleys that I was walking through. And the reason why I remember that is because we walked these alleyways, and though I'm not going to take the time today, let me put my sunglasses back on for a little. Can I do that? Look at the sky while I do that. There we go. Hi, there you are again. How are you?
Yeah.
Good, thank you. So during those days of me living here or living at the next place, we walked around these alleyways and there used to be carnivals around here. Did you ever go to a carnival? We used to have them downtown here. In fact, I remember the carnival that's downtown Lebanon is the first place that I won one of those mirrors with my favorite band on. Do you know what I mean by one of those mirrors? It was a small square mirror that had your favorite bands, or all kinds of bands, logo and their name written across it. And during those times, everybody that I knew, if you either had those roach clip feathers that you could put in your hair, or hang them on, like my mom used to hang them on the rearview mirrors, or you had a mirror of your favorite band. And though they weren't my favorite at the time, I can't really remember who was my favorite at that time. That I was terrified to listen to just music because of what everybody was saying about it. Are all these guys devil worshippers? Why is it everything that I like is considered devil worship music? That's kind of upsetting to me. I'm not a devil worshipper. Maybe I am. I don't know. Maybe I'm a you worshiper, or maybe I'm a worshiper of Tracilyn and VCAT, or this bottle. I don't know. Maybe I worship everything around me. But I didn't want to be a devil worshiper back in those days anyway. Maybe I do now. Maybe I do now. No, I'm just kidding. Don't go away. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Come back here. Come back here. Thank you. Okay, so here's the thing. So what I'm trying to get at is my whole life was fear-driven. Okay, I was afraid of everything because for a lot of different reasons. Sometimes it was because people were teasing me and harassing me. Sometimes people were saying, casting fear in me, saying that the music I enjoyed was actually devil worshiping music. Sometimes it was because of violence, of things that were happening to other people. Let's face it, knowing what he was doing to my mother had me feared about ever talking back to him. And you'll find out right now that the first time I ever got smacked in the face was with this guy. Do you remember the first time you got smacked in the face by somebody that you looked up to? Because even though things were going on here, I still remember I felt safe around him. I needed that security blanket of a man being in my life. And let me tell you something right now. It's very painful to know what he was doing to my mother, but let alone when he actually smacked me. Only he didn't smack me as hard as he did. And here's the thing. I don't remember if it was because of the go-kart situation, which is what I think it was. When he came home and he scolded us just before he took that go-kart from the front here. And he was so strong. Think about that. I was so little and fragile and weak. And him and his friend lifted it up. And they put it over here. In the back. In the back. Right here. Let's look over here. Right over there. Where those garbage cans are. Remember, I had to stare out the kitchen window and see it for a long time. Wishing that I would have never done that. I knew better. I really did know better. So why did we do it? I don't know. We thought we could get away with it. Okay, kids do silly stuff. Please don't do that. Don't push a go-kart across a busy street. He had every reason to be upset at us that day. I'm full agreement, maybe not with the way we were punished, but, you know, because now the go-kart can't be used for months, right? Please don't take our go-kart from us. So here's the thing. I think it was that day, and all three of us were standing in a row as he was scolding us and he was telling us about what we did that was wrong. And he took his hand, here, he took his hand and he smacked all three of us in a row. And thank goodness for Tracilyn. I was on the far left end, or was I on the right end? I don't remember which way he smacked us, but I will tell you this, I think it came towards this way. So he was using his left hand, if I'm not mistaken, and he went across, here, this way, over here. And he came across, bop, 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 bop. All three of us, unfortunately for my two brothers, as he slapped them too, it kind of restricted the force that came upon my face. But it was the first time I ever got smacked in the face by an elder. Because usually, remember, I told you I got spanked. My dad used the belt. My grandma used a long wooden paddle, while my mother used a small wooden paddle. Okay? That was our discipline, but never in the face. And my mother was totally against that as a child growing up. You never, 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 never smack a child in the face. Please don't. Please don't ever smack a child in the face, mommy or daddy. Okay, or grandpa, uncle. Okay? I don't know what the answer is as far as disciplining your children. Because you'll find out that years later, I don't know, punishments have changed. And I don't know what the answer is for that. So I'm not here to discuss that. I'm just here to discuss and tell you that the first time I ever got smacked in the face by a parent was up in that, actually, not in that room right there where I was telling you my sister was. Right? Because, whoop, over there, there. That was my sister's room, and that was the bathroom. On the other side of that bathroom is a hallway and the steps going downstairs. But here's the thing, that back room, that was my room, that was a bigger room. That's where me and my other brothers slept. We had bunk beds. Oh, I got stories in there. Can we go to that now? There's stories in there where we had bunk beds, so I was always on the bottom. I wanted to be on the bottom, and I had a shelf there. And we used to put our blankets on the top, bottom of the mattress, on the top mattress there. And we would droop the blanket over our bed so it looked like we had a little tent. This was the first Christmas that I got an arcade game. a little arcade game. Do you remember like Donkey Kong? Do you remember Frogger, is it? Frogger? Pac-Man? Remember, Pac-Man was a big deal back when I was a kid. Oh yes. And we used to have these little tiny, I can't really do it right now, but it was little tiny, it was probably a little bit bigger than my bottle of water. How's that? I got a Donkey Kong, and I used to play it in my tent, my bunk bed. I used to play that Donkey Kong game all night long, and it was funner at nighttime. Is that a right word, funner? It was more fun at night because all the lights that lit up. And my little Mario brother, how he used to jump over the... I was never that good at it, though. I was never good at games. You're finding this out. I'm not good at sports, and I'm not good at games. It's not my passion in life. I want to take a small break. I got to drink a little bit of water and kind of reflect back on a few things. I told you this would be a little bit foggier for me. I want to get to the straight point of different things that happened within this house now. We're going to focus on the good. How's that? Can we focus on the good and the fun times? I hope so. Don't forget, Tracilyn.com. Got all kinds of links there. Go into Facebook.com/Tracilyn Michael or Tracilyn21 on Facebook. Okay? I'll be right back. Hey guys, how's it going? This here's Tracilyn. I'm also known as VCat, and we are here in Union Alley, just on the other side of Walnut Street, Route 422, heading... Is it east? I'm not sure. Look it up online. I think it is going east. I want to just share a few more moments here that happened in this house. I know I spoke about how my mother was abused here and how we were introduced to some of the music, but I'm going to get down to it. There was a few other things that occurred here that were pretty amazing for me, crucial turning points in my life. We had wonderful Christmases here, at least one anyway. This is where depression set in for me at its strongest. From this point on, things just proceeded to get worse. From this point here, I constantly looked backwards in life. This is where I started putting the rearview mirror in front of my face. And always thinking life was better before. Ever since my mom got beat, ever since I got smacked in the face, you'll find out in school, this is where things started getting really hard for me. And it continued all through my school life. Yes. Even until the day I quit. And please, I'm not recommending, don't quit. Please don't quit. But I'm going to tell you right now, yes, Tracilyn didn't quit. I did get my GED. We'll talk more about that as we progress our way through life. But that gives you some things to think about. I was a high school dropout. High school dropout, yes. Now, here's the thing. Do I regret it? No, I don't regret it. But I'm not encouraging it with you. And you'll get to understand as we move up forward with that. But to just give you some insight, our Christmas now was with a bigger family. I had brothers for the first time in my life. We had a pack together. We used to go to school together. School was right on the other side of the street, and it was okay for us to walk across because there was a security guard that would make sure we got across from one side to the other. But it was not okay for us to push the go-kart across the street, okay? Understand that. There were many times that we would walk these alleyways together in our pack. We would go out to the mini mart store. Sometimes we would get the candy cigarettes. Do you understand? Sometimes we would get real cigarettes, very seldom, but most of the time we would get the candy cigarettes and we would try to be cool. Did you ever do that? Do you know what candy cigarettes are? That was always a big thing for us to do as a family, especially in this neighborhood, was walk up to the mini mart store. We used to do that on Lafayette Street a lot too. I told you that was a big thing for me as we walked to a lot of these mini mart stores that were usually in houses, people's front porches. That was kind of like a pastime. Hey, let's go to the store together, and we would walk. And we were cool. Me and my brothers, we were cool, and I was kind of the leader. They might disagree. They might say, well, we were the leader. But we used to come down through here, and I spent a lot of time by myself when they would go away for a little while, maybe a weekend or something. I don't know if they were visiting their mom or what have you, but I would spend a lot of time here using my imagination as well, pretending to drive a car through the alleyway, the General Lee usually. I forget where I used to park it, but I would park it somewhere up front there, and I would get in the car, and I would drive through these streets as I was walking, you know? And sometimes people would come out, what are you doing? I'm driving my car. And they would want to drive with me. Down here, in this garage, I think it's this one specifically, my brother had his car, okay? He used to park his car there. And we spent a lot of time there as he was working on that car. Him and my superhero friend used to come down here. I learned a lot by watching them work on their cars. And a lot of times, because I was depressed, I would just go, and often you will find out as I go through my journey, especially with my superhero friend, I would go keep him company while he was either A, working on bikes, because he used to fix my bikes all the time, or, and that's something big I did around here too, as I rode bikes a lot. That started in Jonestown, remember, in Lafayette. We rode our bikes all over the neighborhood. Here was the same deal, but I did a lot more walking around here. Check this out. Over here in this house, remember I told you about the rich folk up on the hill? And that was my first introductory to, we were down here in the neighborhood, and the rich were up on top of the hill. See, that might be why it's stuck in my head that rich people are up there somewhere, and we're down here. We're way down here. Look at this. I'm way down here on the street. I'm down here on the street, but they're way up here on a hill somewhere. Okay, it was a visual because in our neighborhood back then, the nicest homes were up on top of the hill, up over the hill, or so it appeared to be where we were. I'm not saying that that's necessarily true, especially now anymore. You will find out that my perspective was off a lot throughout my life journey. But here is the first time. Notice, let's look here. Over here is my house, right up in that alleyway. So less than a half a block away, we come down here. I don't see the street sign. But this house here, which looks like it's kind of boarded up, okay, there is an in-ground swimming pool. It is the first in-ground. Do you know how many times we walked by here, hearing water splash around in the summertime? There was a girl that lived here. She was so beautiful, so beautiful. Oh, hold on a minute. Let's make sure this is right. There we go. She was so beautiful. And it was the first girl that I remember in my whole life that I met in real life that I thought, wow, other than my mother. Can I just leave it at that? It was a wow moment. And it wasn't just with me. It was with a whole lot of people. A lot of guys. She was a girl in the neighborhood from my class that made the guys go, wow. Even the girls. So one thing that I remember about her is she was small. She had a little bit longer hair than mine is right now, but she wore tight blue jeans. They fit very tight on her legs, and she wore these cute little white boots. Maybe not right there and then, but at some time as we make our way through school, I remember seeing her, and she was always dolled up. She had her makeup. Remember now, I'm talking about my mother. She always did her hair, kind of curled it. She always wore makeup. She always dressed really pretty. Well, this is the first young girl during my age, my class, that dolled herself up. She did all of her face with makeup. She curled her hair where it was naturally curly, and she wore attractive clothing for girls. So of course, I wanted to get to know her, because as soon as I saw her, I thought I would like to dress like that. Will you teach me how to dress like that? You know who you are. If you saw this, you know exactly who you are. So there was a beautiful girl that lived here. They want to talk about life-changing moments like that. You'll find out later on, within just a year or two, I ended up actually dating a girl who reminded me a lot of her. So notice as I'm talking about my mom, and now I'm attracted to this girl because this girl dresses up like my mom did. She dolls herself all up, looks very pretty, kind of like a little celebrity girl, you know, locally here. And it was considered that her parents were well-to-do, and so was she. And this is my first close neighborhood. First time that I lived this close to somebody we considered rich. Is that okay? Can I just be right down to the point? Make it clear for you to understand. Well, here we are on Walnut Street, the corner of the first beautiful girl that I had strong attraction to. Other than back there in Lafayette Street where I told you I was attracted to butch girls, this was much the opposite. Okay, let's try to reflect back and remember so I don't put my foot in my mouth. Back in the day in Lafayette Street, remember I told you I was attracted to butch girls? And I don't mean that as an insult. They were tough girls. She had a tough girl attitude. Okay, I needed tough girls to kind of protect me. And let me tell you something right now. She might have been tough, but she didn't look tough. She looked like a model. Can I be straight? Like out of TV Guide. I used to look through the TV Guide a lot during these years. And I used to use my imagination and pretend that I was these girls in our television guide. And I was still doing makeup, even more scared because now I have brothers and I have a stepdad that I don't want to catch me like this, wearing my mother's clothing. Started getting pretty heavy over here, and the fear of being caught was enormous. I do not know how I got a hold of lingerie at this time, but somewhere along the line in this house that I was living at in Union Alley, somehow I got a hold of lingerie, and I used to wear it in my bedroom, and I would lock up the bedroom when I knew that nobody was in the attic because I didn't want anybody to come down from the attic, like my stepdad or my mother or my brothers, to walk in on me while I was dressed in lingerie. And I do remember how wonderful I felt to put it on, but how scared I was. I was terrified. Terrified that I was going to get caught. And eventually you find out that I threw a lot of this clothing away because I didn't want anybody to find this stuff in my bedroom. I had all kinds of toys that I started collecting. Yeah, by this time I was probably going on 10, 11. Believe it or not, I was starting to get a hold of even toys, adult toys to play with. Now, I don't remember all the details on that. I'm not going to get too sidetracked and make that a main subject at this time anyway. But already, trust this, I already found my first girl that I want to look like other than my mother and other than Cher, other than Daisy Duke. This is my first real life girl. She's about my age. She's in our class. And you'll find out later on that I continued to date another girl when I was in 6th or 7th grade that actually looked like her. A lot like her. They might disagree. I'm sorry if it upsets you if you found this. You know who you are. I'm not using your name. I'm sorry if it upsets you, but that was the first reason why I started falling attracted to a girl that I ended up dating later on. But we're gonna stick on where we are. Remember I told you that this is the first place that we found that I had the opportunity to meet gay people, what the world calls gay people. It was two men that were dating each other. It was very clear that they were dating each other. In this alleyway right over here, right here in front of our front door, actually. My mom had a friend that she was very good friends with, a lady. They worked about at the same place. She drove a dark, shiny, metallic Monte Carlo. I'm not going to mention her name, but she also was into muscle cars. Our mom's kids loved muscle cars. I love muscle cars, remember that. I love muscle cars. My brother got a muscle car they're working on, him and my superhero friend. They're working on a car down there. My mom just left a boyfriend who had muscle cars. Let me tell you something, muscle cars were very dominant in this city. You are going to find that out. I don't have a whole lot of time to talk about that today. I'm going to stick with the houses, but check this out. She pulled up here in her Monte Carlo. It was one night, and she was a smoker too, so she would stop here and we'd hear the car run. It had cherry bombs on, and she would be smoking her cigarette, and we would all be running out here to talk to her. We liked her. She was very friendly. Right here, we got to keep on walking. There's a dog barking. Okay, there's a dog in there. And anyway, I remember foggily. Okay, fogly. Is that a word? It's a little distorted for my memory, but here's the thing. I do recall at some point either my mom was talking to us or this lady with the Monte Carlo was talking to us children, or they both did at different times, but the bottom line is this girl was obviously a lesbian. Do you know what a lesbian is? Is it okay that I use these terminologies with you? Because I don't really know what to use. I just want to be very clear so we can get straight to the point. I'm not trying to insult anybody or upset anybody, but she is what we call a lesbian. And these two guys back here were gay. But I'm not making fun of them, and I would like to get to know them. And same with my mom's friend. I would like to see her again and connect with her. Maybe she'll see this video. Maybe she'll want to leave a comment, or she can email me. You know? Let me get some water here. Look at the sky a second. Isn't it beautiful? Look at that. You want to watch me drink? So not only was it my first family where we had different skin color. Is that okay? Could I say that? A biracial family, is it? And then we had a hippie dad. So I thought that was cool because I like long hair. My stepdad has long hair. We were the only two guys in our family that had long hair. I'm not sure if my brother did at that time. But let me tell you something. Now we're getting introduced to, we're starting, the sexuality is starting to come up. Remember, Lafayette was pretty much where the kissing started to happen. Oh, you'll find out that the kissing experiences that I had as I went through life were pretty wild to me, you know, because this is all new. Do you remember the first time somebody kissed you, or you kissed somebody other than your parents? It's a totally different experience. And sometimes, at least for me back in the 70s and 80s, I didn't know how to handle this. You know, people would make fun of me, there'd be peer pressure there. Now we have sexuality issues. I don't want to say issues, questions, struggles, concerns, because I'm getting introduced to two guys that are partners. You know, is that a good way to say it? They're partners. And then my mom's friend, she's a lesbian. Do you know what a lesbian is? And here's the thing, check this out. That's what it was running through my mind. What's a lesbian? Why are people making fun of my mom and this girl hanging out together? Is my mom a lesbian? Are you a lesbian, Mom? And she would say no. As far as I know, she would say no, at least back then. And the truth of the matter is, I remember at some point a conversation going on about this lady being interested in with my mom. And I don't want to talk about their life, but I just want to say that it was a question that came up to us, is what would we think? And the reason is because my mom had gone through a couple boyfriends up to this point, not to mention husbands. Okay, I don't want to focus on her life, but now the question is coming up, would she be better off with a lady? A lady who would love her kids? A lady that would pretty much provide for her everything she desired? What do you think about that? Can I just tell you that she didn't in the end? I don't know if they ever kissed. I don't know if they ever did anything together. But I will tell you this. I mean, they were friends. But I will tell you this. They didn't end up getting a home together with us. Okay? And I wonder if at that time, with the pressure of everything and people making fun of everybody, is that why? Do you think that's why, maybe? Pressure? But I remember some pretty heavy conversation about, would we be happy? Would we be happy? Would we be okay with it? Because us as children going through our life with two mommies instead of a mommy and a daddy, right? There might be a problem or two with that, right? At that time, please understand, there might be. Not everybody thinks the same. Not everybody thinks the same. So this is the first time I'm introduced to sexuality concerns. Concerns, can I say concerns? Questions, you know, curiosities. I don't know the proper things to say here. I'm not thinking too clear today. I told you it'd be foggy back here. But I do remember these were crucial turning points in my life, very critical. Life-changing moments happened right there. Even with that, oh no, it's bad enough I'm getting kissed. Girls are tackling me and kissing me, and I don't want to be kissed by a girl. Now I'm over here where I see two guys and I want to talk to them, but I'm scared to talk to them. And now my mom. Did my mom get tackled and kissed by a girl? I don't know. No, she didn't. I don't think so. Okay, please don't spread any rumors. I don't know. But I know the question came up to me at some point, and to the other children. Would you mind? What do you think about that? And I gotta say, knowing what I know now, I reflect back on that and I wonder, What if my mom would have ended up with somebody that would have really loved her and took care of her children, took care of her, provided whatever it was that she felt that she needed at that time, you know? And I think about her all the time. We all loved her. We all loved her a lot. We had fun. She had a muscle car. We used to cruise the circuit. You're gonna find that out. We used to cruise the circuit over here. So I hope you're doing well. And I hope you're not doing life alone. I hope you have friends, lots of friends, a partner in crime. Not necessarily crime, but you know what I mean. So I'm gonna walk up this way here a little bit. We're not gonna go to the school at this time. Not when there's children in school. We're gonna wait to either a little bit later on today or we'll come back another day because that's gonna be a whole another conversation for you. But let me just tell you, up on the other side of this red light up here, which you can't see, it's a school where I started getting bullied at pretty bad. Pretty bad. I was already starting to go to this school a while back. We'll catch up with it. Right now we're here in Union Alley and we're talking about some life-changing moments, some things that started to happen in my life. So let's kind of reevaluate this again. I'm birthed at the hospital. I go home. I have a family life. My family's everything to us. We have some friends. Now we move and I have the separation of my parents, separation of my mom when I go to school. We have to make choices. There's many different guys that my mom is starting to date. I'm introduced to cigarettes for sure by that time, and even marijuana back there. I used to take a little bit, even as a little kid, believe it or not. Believe it or not. And I'm not recommending that with anybody, okay? I'm not recommending that. In fact, you will find out later on, I'll probably recommend against it, but I don't want to upset anybody. I don't want to upset anybody. That's just my personal perspective. So here's the thing, check this out. Now we move from Jonestown into Lebanon, where we have the whole neighborhood to become a family with. And there's different power structures within that family. And notice I told you the one power structure, my superhero friend, he stayed with me pretty much throughout my life. You'll find that out. I don't want to talk a whole lot about his life. That's not up for me. But I will say that he's been there throughout my life journey. I love him. I hope he's doing great, him and his family. And we're going to leave it at that, okay, for now. We might bring it up a little bit later. And so, anyway, we're spending a lot of time down here. It's the same thing. There's not near as many friends here. It's pretty much I'm hanging out with my stepbrothers. And, you know, there's some powerhouse structures in here, too. I call them powerhouse structures because they were guys that you really did not want to mess with. You wanted to become friends with because they would help you in a bind. They didn't want to be used just like anybody else. They don't want to be used. However, even though that you weren't necessarily really good friends with them, if you were friends of a friend of a friend of a friend, let me tell you what, doors opened up. Yes, they did. Did I say that doors open up? Yes. And sometimes they don't have to know anything about you, and doors open up. And doors open up. So check this out. When I come here, it's my first physical violence that I've been exposed to. I mean, really, I've been bullied in Lafayette Street. I got my first fight out in Jonestown with myself, with somebody I love. Let me tell you, this was serious violence. This was going on continuously. I felt helpless. I didn't know what else I could do other than just listen. There were times that I would just cry myself to sleep in my pillow. This is where I started really heavily getting into my mom's makeup. I even did try fooling around with a curling iron a few times. Thank goodness I didn't burn myself or the house and down. And this is where I started to wear somebody's lingerie, but I'm not 100% sure whose it was and how I got it, even down to adult toys. And I don't want to get too heavy about that, but I started playing around with it even at that point. And it still amazes me to this day that my mom had no idea what was going on behind my closed doors. I had a strong attraction to guys. I was curious. I wanted to get to know what's going on with myself because the whole world is telling me that being gay, what the world calls gay, being interested in what people call same sex, that's wrong. And you're going to be made fun of and you're going to be beat up. And I was being beat up for everything anyway. So, and now I got introduced to my first lesbian. Wow, the city life is really much different than the country life, don't you think? Just a little. Maybe not so different. Maybe it's just well kept hidden over there in the country, and here in the city, we're a little more open and carefree. What do you think? Carefree? So I get introduced to my first lesbian, my mom's friend, who I love very much, and I hope she's doing good. I really do. I hope she's doing good. And please understand, I'm not making fun of anybody. I'm making fun of myself. I'm trying to have a sense of humor about my whole life journey and the things I've been exposed to. But notice how things happened. Power structure, the fear, listen, the fear of living with or going into a black neighborhood or a white neighborhood or a Hispanic neighborhood, Spanish neighborhood, however you want to word it, an Asian neighborhood. We even had a couple of those smaller communities, but you'd be surprised, even in Lebanon, Pennsylvania at that time, you know, and everybody's casting fear. And was it true? I think if you were nice and respectful to anybody, they're going to treat you nicely and respectfully. Really, I do believe that, even back then. So here's the thing, check this out. Now over here, I'm getting introduced to a whole nother world, and for the first time in my life, other than what I would consider, like I told you, tough girls. How about tough girls instead of butch girls? I'm sure they don't like that. They're gonna hunt me down. I'm sorry, butch girl. I didn't mean that, butch girl. Please don't get upset at me. What I mean is a tougher girl. I need to be around tougher personalities because I don't like to fight. I really don't. Even to this day, I'm a lover. I am all about love, peace, and happiness. And I do better sometimes when I'm on this end of the computer than if I would be sitting with you. Let's just face it. I got to be honest with myself. I think I've evaluated myself long enough to know that I get along a little bit better on this side than if I was sitting there with you. You'd probably get sick of me. You'd probably ask me to leave. Would you mind leaving, Tracilyn? You might even be getting sick of me now and want to cut me off. I'm going to keep on talking. Don't forget, my website is down here, tracilyn.com. I have music there, free MP3s. I got a Facebook page, Tracilyn. It's facebook.com/Tracilyn21. And you can get to know me a little bit there. I have other YouTube page with my music on. I wear diapers. I wear schoolgirl outfits, all kinds of things. I'm a transgendered lady, and I know some of you may be following me for a while and you're wondering, what is a transgendered lady? You don't look like a lady to me, or maybe you're saying, what are you talking about? Or I had you figured out all along, Tracilyn. I knew it, and maybe now you're frustrated. Please don't be frustrated. I'm not trying to hide anything from you. I'm not trying to hide anything from you. So we're going to continue to walk up here. It looks like I'm running out of memory. That's why I put in that punchline with my website address and everything. I told myself I'm going to use this up in this neighborhood. We're going to head on down to another neighborhood. If there's time, I'm going to show you that we used to come here with my brothers. Remember I told you we walked around the neighborhood a lot? We used to go down here to a local pizza place called Greektown. Greektown Pizza was one of the best pizzas. There used to be Papadino's every Friday night. Well, when we came down here, the pizza place was right down the road from us, only 2 blocks. What do you think of that? And they had a Pac-Man machine in there. And actually, they had asteroids, too. Do you remember asteroids? That was a fun game. I loved asteroids. So this is where the arcade games, Atari, all kinds of video games got introduced to me while I lived here. It might have